Okay, so first off, I think that was a really good season for the Toronto Raptors. Yes, they were very close to getting to the conference finals, but, after Kawhi was gone, I think there was a lot of uncertainty about how good they would be. I did not think they would be as good as they were. And to get as far as they did, that close to the conference finals, I think that's it's something to remember for this Toronto team. And yeah, it would have been better if they could have done it in front of their Toronto fans, but still, a hell of an effort from them. They've got a lot of decisions to make in the offseason. We'll see what they want to do. There's, of course, some talk about Pascal Siakam right now. We all knew he wasn't a number one guy. So that doesn't mean he's still not good. Doesn't mean he's not going to get better. But yeah, my Celtics are going to the conference finals. And I'll do a video on Celtics Heat once I have wrapped my head around it a bit. But as far as this Game 7 is concerned, I think we got to start with Jayson Tatum. 29 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists, very good defensively the whole way through. He had like a 53% true shooting percentage, which is not great, but it's a Game 7. There's not many guys who are going to be efficient. Jaylen Brown was kind of fantastic if you want to talk about efficiency. Yeah, he missed his threes, but the two-pointers, the pull-ups, his defense was great as well. It was pretty obvious that he was going to have to bring it for the Celtics in this one. He's the best shot creator on the team, best ball handler. Well, not the best ball handler. That would be Kemba, but I would say Tatum, he played not as well as he possibly could have, but he impressed, certainly in a Game 7. A tough game where both teams struggle from the field. The Raptors' zone defense definitely gave people problems, the biggest one being Kemba Walker. And yet, Tatum, while he'd certainly had his missed shots, he also just was able to get into that Raptors defense and a lot of times just kind of beat somebody in a one-on-one or make a tough three-pointer. And if we're going to have all this talk about where does Jayson Tatum rank in the NBA and what is his ceiling and all that stuff, then you need him to play well in these types of games. I remember I did a video, however long at this point, where it was like Tatum, Ben Simmons, Devin Booker, and I said, for the future, I think Jayson Tatum will end up being the best of those three guys. And it's a tough three-man group to be the best of, but you're going to have games like this one, which, again, not a perfect game. He did miss quite a few shots. But Game 7s are tough. You can go down basically every player's career, and you're going to find some Game 7s where they shot pretty poorly. Tatum's passing has been pretty legit. 7 assists. I think he had 9 assists in the game before. Just making quick decisions with the ball, He's had a number of passes where it's a guy open in the opposite corner and he gets it to him or whatever it may be. He had a number of good passes that didn't result in assists tonight as well. So it's a great sign. Jayson Tatum is kind of passing a lot of things that you need to see from a guy who's got some sort of trajectory towards the, 15 to potentially 10 best players in the NBA or whatever. We do still have a conference finals coming up against a very good defensive team in Miami, so Tatum's work is not done in terms of us evaluating where he ranks in the league, but he looks good after this Game 7, certainly. I think the Celtics just kind of leaned on him a little bit more. That was something I was complaining about a bit throughout this series. Just, more Tatum, please. And to think about next regular season, whenever the hell that will be. Is it insane to believe that Jayson Tatum could average 25 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and be an all-second-team defensive candidate? I don't think it's insane. One of my fears with Tatum was he going to build the all-around game outside of just being able to score? And it seems like he's inching closer to being... he pretty much already is a strong all-around player, but, a couple more playoff games, and I guess we can safely say that, I would guess. The other guy to talk about is Marcus Smart. 2 for 10 from 3, so that wasn't great. But 3 steals, he had, 1 or 2 charges, and then probably his biggest play of not just this game, not just this series, but potentially of his career, the block on Powell. Marcus Smart does have a 6'9" wingspan, so He's got some long arms. But you typically don't see those type of plays from him a lot just because, he's 6'3", 6'4". He doesn't have a great vertical. So I know that for him to pull that one off, he had to dig down into every piece of athleticism that he's got to get that block. And that's the type of guy that you need. I mean, projecting towards the Miami series a little bit, Marcus Smart being out there is certainly going to be a factor. I mean, this is a classic Marcus Smart game. 6 for 15 from the field, 2 for 10 from 3, and yet when you think about his overall impact, you're like, well, the defense combined with the passing, there you go. One thing that I was concerned about going into this series was the Celtics bench, and I understand in the playoffs the rotations, they shorten and all that stuff, but I feared that it was going to be too much to ask of the Celtics starters to play the amount of minutes that they played basically in the last 2 games. I mean, Jalen, Marcus, Kemba, and Tatum all played 43 minutes and up in this Game 7, and of course we saw what happened in Game 6, and when you look at it, like Robert Williams was good in this series. He surprised me. Wanamaker, Grant Williams, Semi Ojeleye, I guess they all had their moments throughout the series. I don't think any of them were great consistently through, but I guess the collective of all of them spread throughout the series, I guess could be looked at least as like a neutral. I think Grant Williams defensively was solid in this game. Semi Ojeleye had a 7-point first half in one of the games that was kind of big. Brad Wanamaker had 15 points back in Game 5, which I believe, was that the blowout win for the Celtics? It was. So, again, they all had enough moments. Whether that's going to work against Miami, having those guys out there, I don't know. We'll talk about it whenever I get my brain started going in the Celtics Heat direction. Things to talk about for the Raptors. I mean, for one, I think they just should have went to Ibaka more. I mean, I was freaked out by Ibaka by Game 6, I believe was that when I was really talking about Ibaka like that. And my guy Marc Gasol did not really bring it in this series like that. Now, do I think he was awful? Probably not. I think defensively he certainly had some moments, and I think he was pivotal in Tatum not killing them the whole series, but I think Ibaka and just the threat of his offense, especially from 3, was just probably a little more valuable to Marc Gasol in this series. I was also surprised to see that Nick Nurse didn't go to the small lineup that they had success with in Game 6 more in this game. Unless I'm just forgetting, but I mean, Gasol played 19 minutes, Ibaka played 20 minutes. I don't know, I guess I'm just a little surprised with how good that lineup was for them in Game 6. We didn't see a little bit more. Is there anything that can be said about the Brad Stevens versus Nick Nurse thing? Not really. I think if you believed that Stevens was better than Nurse, or you thought Nurse was better than Stevens before the series, I don't think anything that happened really sways you. I mean, maybe, but to me, I just feel like it's 2 good coaches, 2 smart teams, and somebody had to win, pretty much. I mean, could you argue that Toronto's offense perhaps did not have enough activity in certain points of this game? Yeah, sure, you could say that. You could also kill Stevens for throwing Enes Kanter in there back in Game 3, I believe it was. So, neither guy's perfect, but they're both certainly very, very good. And when I think about the inner circle of the elite coaches in the league today, they're both in there. So, yeah, man. To think about other things with Toronto, I mean, I'm going to end up doing a whole video on this, but you know what? We're already 9 minutes in. Toronto has some decisions to make. You might have just heard my keyboard there as I'm typing in Raptors payroll. You got Van Fleet's contract. I think they're going to let Gasol go. And if they bring him back, it's certainly not going to be for $25 million. It's going to be for a lot less money. But I think they really have to decide on Van Fleet and Ibaka. Because if they wanted to, they could basically just run this thing back and just try to be good again. Or they could mix it up a little bit. I mean, again, there is Ibaka, there is Van Fleet, but there's also Kyle Lowry. $30 million next season, 1-year contract. If he's available, which I have no idea what they're going to want to do, but if he was available, you could certainly get something for him. I've already named Dallas as a team that I think he would be a really, really good fit for, and you can find a number of teams where Kyle Lowry would help, but he also makes $30 million, so it's not like everybody's going to have the contracts you would want to put that together, but we'll see, man. I mean, Powell, he was looking like a 20-point scorer at times this season. Of course, there's Siakam, who's not as young as you think. He's actually 26 years old. Anunoby's still exciting, so Toronto's in an interesting situation, and we'll just have to see what they want to do. If I was them, I would look to re-sign Van Fleet. And with Ibaka, I mean, depending on the money, I guess I would keep him on perhaps a shorter contract or so. We'll see what they want to do. But yeah, I got to get my Celtics Heat thoughts going. As far as my quick hitters for that series, the Celtics have guys who can match up physically with Jimmy Butler. The Heat have guys who can match up physically with Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Although you imagine Jimmy is not going to defend those guys all the time. Bam can switch onto them, and unlike Milwaukee, Miami does not have a center who's going to make Bam stand at the three-point line like that. Of course, Miami certainly did not have many troubles with the Bucks, so yeah. Also, Stevens will play his guys 40-something minutes, whereas Budenholzer, well, we know the whole Coach Bud thing. Anyway, that's it.